So I was born into a non-demonstrative family, whether physical touch, communication, all that kind of thing. And that left my heart with a major void, a huge gap. And I found myself, like during high school, trying to fill that gap and trying to get other people to define who I was, allowing other people to define who I was. And in my senior year, I had a boyfriend who was older than me, so I allowed him to define who I was and to define how the relationship was, just in order to get that love I was so seeking. And that love brought us directly into a Planned Parenthood where the clinician said, your pregnancy test is positive, and from the exam, you're about 10 weeks pregnant. So that was a mind numbing thing to be told. And when my mind started processing through it, I was terrified. I was terrified because I was afraid of shaming my family. My boyfriend was in his master's program in college, and that would have to quit. I wasn't ready to be a wife and a mom at that age. And so she started into her script about, you know what, don't worry. You've got plenty of time for a pregnancy in the future. Right now, it's just a simple procedure, removing a blob of tissue. So I thought, okay, problem solved, right? Well, the problem wasn't solved. I went ahead, I got the abortion, I went through the process, and the next day I found myself in the hospital, bleeding profusely, and I almost died. And what happened to that safe little abortion of removal of a blob of tissue was that they had performed the abortion incompletely. And that left an incredibly gruesome infection, and that's why I almost died. So after 2 weeks in the hospital, they released me to a life of shame and guilt and unexpected loss, and I just wanted to put it in the back of my mind forever. I just didn't want to even remember that any longer. So it was about 10 years later. In the meantime, I'd come to the Lord. I'd come to faith, and I was growing in my faith, very excited about the Lord. And I happened to be at a health fair. And there was a booth there with fetal development in different stages, fetal development models in different stages. And I immediately zeroed in on the 10-week fetal model because that's what I was. And I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified because that blob of tissue was actually a baby, and it already had heartbeat, its organs were growing, had fingerprints, and I felt sick. I felt lied to and deceived. I felt angry, and I felt even more shame than I had already felt before. So I think that was the Lord's way of gently exposing me and making me face the fact that I had had an abortion, and that was in an area that He really wanted to heal in my heart because it was a deep, deep wound. So a couple years after that, there was in the local newspaper, there was an ad for a local crisis pregnancy center, and there was a picture of a young woman with her abortion testimony in the ad, and it was similar to mine. And I thought, wow, I really want to see if I can volunteer for this organization. So I called them up. They said, yes, we're having a counselor training coming up. Join us. And I did. And through that process, I became a client advocate. And as I kept going in with clients facing their own unexpected pregnancies, I was really struggling. So I went into the director and told her about my struggles, and she said, "Debbie, have you ever dealt with your own abortion experience?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, I highly recommend you go through our 12-week post-abortion counseling program, which was called Forgiven and Set Free." So I was actually eager to do that and see if it would help. Oh, oh my gosh, it was like I was forgiven and set free when I came out of that program, because it was a Christian program which took us through every step of the process of our abortion experience. And the most important being forgiveness for others who were in our experience, like the doctors, my boyfriend, my parents, and myself. And it was very interesting because I was able to forgive everyone else, but I couldn't forgive myself, and it was just haunting me. And God said, "You need to forgive yourself, because that's why I died for you, so you don't have to keep burdening yourself with this." And I was like, "God, if I forgive myself, I don't want you ever thinking that I'm minimizing what I've done, because it was huge. I took the life of my child." And he said, "That's why I died on the cross for you. I took that on so you wouldn't have to, because I love you." And when I finally made that connection from my head to my heart, I was like, oh, it was like the biggest burden was lifted off my shoulders. It was like I saw life through a whole new lens, and just the forgiveness I felt. And so the Lord, as he always does, he used my mess as my message. And I was able to speak publicly about it, my experience and my testimony. I was able to counsel women way more effectively. I was able to take women through the post-abortion counseling program that I had gone through, because I could have a real connection with them. And I got to see other women being healed and set free of their pain and suffering as well. And I got to see women just who came in with unexpected pregnancies choose life after, we went through fetal development information and all of that. So that was an amazing time of healing. I always say, "Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me." And that's my favorite hymn, because that is my life. And he took me out of that. God is full of grace. He's full of mercy. He's full of love and forgiveness. I don't know where I'd be without that.